So hi everyone, I'm Sejal. So I am a product manager at FlytBase, and recently for the past couple of weeks, I've been working on solving the recruitment problem using AI. So there are lots to share, and I'll just start by sharing my screen. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, it is.
It is.
Okay, yes. Uh,
In the meantime, as Sejal delivers her presentation, if anybody has questions, please feel free to drop your questions in the messages. So after her presentation, then we will be able to take up those questions.
I'm having some trouble with my keypad. Just give me 1 second. Okay, I hope my presentation is visible now.
Yes, it is.
Not able to click the hide. Not sure why that is happening. Okay, so I'll just share tab by tab. It will be a little bit inconvenient, but okay. So let's get started. So what is the current hiring challenge, right? On the HRs in the audience would relate. It takes anywhere between 5 minutes to 30 minutes to actually review a CV, to properly review it, to go through each point, to go through each section, reason whether the candidate is good enough or not. It takes 5 to 30 minutes. So, but according to some statistics, an organization can receive anywhere from 100 to 400 CVs every day. So if you consider input of, let's say, 100 CVs per day and spending 5 minutes upon every CV, that would take anywhere from 10 to 50 hours. So that is not humanly possible, right? I mean, to just go through, sit for 10 hours and keep on reviewing CVs. What that has done is the solution. So that's how the techniques like keyword based filtering were invented. So you had systems, you had some ATS and all, and they had these options where you can just put your GD, put the keywords, put the skills, and they will filter a CV based on that. So that reduced the time from 5 minutes to 6 to 7 seconds per recruiter per CV. And while that might seem a great increment in terms of speed, it had a lot of loopholes. For example, it shifted the whole focus from keyword matching, and then there were a lot of problems like candidates were stuffing the CVs with keywords. There were a lot of fluff CVs. They had listed all the skills, but there were no projects, no work experience to back those skills up, back those claims up. Also, things like the learnability of a person, the culture fitness of a person. How can you give all that context to normal ATS? How can you give all that context to normal heuristic CV filtering techniques that existed pre-AI? So that's why we decided to shift to, so that's why when Gen AI came, we decided to integrate that into our solution, because then we could have given it a lot of context, and it has the ability to reason. It has the ability to take all those data points and extract information and insights out of it. So what we did was we created a simple N8N pipeline, and we created a simple prompt. And in that prompt, we ensured that we listed all the things that we look for. So this is a high level overview of the prompt that we give. So as you can see, we broke down the prompt into project complexity, skill alignment, certifications. We listed out what all an LLM should look for, what all it should not look for, what all it should evaluate. And in terms of that, it used to give us a good result. It used to give us whether a candidate is a fit, it's fit for us or not. So yes. Yeah, so this is the high level structure of that of the prompt that we used to give, and it has been divided into different categories. It has listed out that what it should evaluate. It has listed out what high score looks like, what low score looks like. And if you will look at it from a third person POV, you will see that yeah, it is a very detailed prompt, it should work. And that's what we thought too, until we ran some internal test and we came across some disheartening numbers. So what we came across were, even if for a same resume, same prompt and same LLM, if you run a resume multiple times, the variation in the scores was massive. As you can see, this is the initial, this is the chart of that. So the prompt was same. It was exactly the same as I showed you earlier. The CV for a candidate used to remain same. But even despite all that similarity, the variation in score could rise as max as to 60 marks. So this is basically, this is a data of 30 odd CVs who each candidate, yeah, this is a data of 30 odd CVs. Each CV was run 5 times, and then this range was calculated, and then that chart was created that then this chart was created that I showed you. So now then this means that the CV system is not, the LLMs are not reliable, right? And that's what our initial reaction was also. But instead of just dumping the whole system out, we decided to see how can we make it more reliable. So after some research, so after a lot of trial and error and research, this is the final result. I'll be going into the process later on, but I'll just share the final results. The present system that we have, it has evaluated more than 800 CVs. Out of those, only 22 CVs have gone out of our acceptable threshold. That is, the variation in score has raised, like the variation in score is greater than 4 marks for only 22 CVs. That is a 97% improvement. And the maximum variation in the previous slide, you could see the maximum variation had risen up to 60 marks, but currently the maximum variation is just 10. No CV out of the 800 CVs, no CV score rose more than 10. So that is an 83% improvement in scoring itself. So, and then we also put in system in place that if the variation in the score, so each CV is ran multiple times. And if the variation in that score is greater than 4 marks, it raises a human flag, and then we go and manually check that CV out. But that was, again, that out of 800, only 22 were such CVs. So 97%, only 3% of the time, the hiring manager had to actually go through the CV. So this solves just one part of the problem, that is getting reliable results from LLMs. The second part of the problem is that the result that you are getting reliably is actually correct or not. So for that, what we did was we did random sampling. We have scores, right, out of 100. So we created slabs of 90 to 100, 80 to 90, 60 to 70. And in that, we randomly picked out CVs, and then we showed it to our hiring manager. And initially, there were a couple of tweaks. There were a couple of like diff in what he would have scored the CV versus what our system used to score. But after we incorporated all those tweaks, the final result matched 100%. So all the CVs that were filtered out, all the scores that were given out, all the strengths and weakness that were listed out by the LLM matched 100% with what our hiring manager would have done if he was the one reviewing those CVs. So this is not just a massive improvement from our initial manual process, but also from the way we were initially using AI. So now I'll move on to how we are achieving that. So there were multiple things that we did to reach up to that result. One is temperature control. So when you create any agent for any LLM, there is a parameter that's known as sampling temperature. What it ranges between 0 to 1, and the higher the temperature, the higher is the probability of the LLM to be more probabilistic, to be more creative. So how LLMs work? So how do LLMs work? What they do is they predict the next best token, right? So they have a probability distribution of all the possible tokens that can come after a sentence. The higher the sampling temperature is, the closer it is to 1, the greater is the probability of the LLM to go after less probable tokens. So it would not just output you the most probable token, it would output you the less probable tokens. But the lower it is to 0, the higher is its probability to adhere to your prompt. So what we did was, when we were running our test, we played around with the sampling temperature. We wanted a nice balance. We didn't want to make it completely deterministic, because then it would have just been an ATS, your normal keyword matching system. But we didn't want to give it so much freedom that it starts assuming and hallucinating things. So after that, we found out that 0.2 to 0.3, if the sampling temperature is between like 0.2, 0.3, it works best for us. That is the setting that we settled on. But even after that, you can see there was some improvement. Yeah, so even after that, you can see there was some improvement. I mean, it is not as wild as the earlier chart, but it's still going off the rocket, right? So who is at fault? Is the parameter at fault? Is the LLM at fault? Or is the prompt at fault? If you think from first principles, the lower the temperature, the better the agent will adhere to the prompt. So if the agent is not adhering to the prompt, then that means that the prompt itself is at fault. So then we went deep into what kind of prompt we should create. And when that's when we realized that we were incorrect to think that the input that was going to the LLM initially is correct. That is same. Why I say so? Yeah. So this is the initial workflow of n10 that we used to create. Here, as you can see, there is a text extract node that extracts the text out of the CV, and then it passes that whole unstructured text, this whole unstructured text, to the agent, and the agent takes this whole unstructured text and gives an output. But what we are doing is, we are essentially giving LLM an unstructured text, and then we are asking it to structure it every time, then judge it on our parameters, and then output a correct results. So there is so much room for ambiguity, right? I mean, for what if it in the first phase, in the first run, it structured it to something else. It counted an achievement as a work experience, and in the next run, it didn't count that work experience at all. The variation in the score would be massive. So that's why what we did was, we divided the prompt into two parts. One was a parser prompt and one was a decider prompt. The work of the parser prompt was to take that unstructured data and structure it accordingly. So it used to structure it into So it used to structure it into into some segments, which is, it used to get the initial name, contact, email out of it, the years of experience, the work experience, the achievements, the projects, and any additional information that it seems necessary. Sorry, somebody saying something? Okay, yeah. And as you can see, this prompt is also very elaborate. This prompt also follows a lot of steps as to how it should structure the name, how it should structure the contact, how it should calculate the years of experience, how it should calculate the work experience. And what we did was, we reduced the sampling temperature of this agent to 0, because here we wanted it to be completely deterministic. Now you might be wondering that, what if this output itself is different? So this is the what should I say, proof. So for the same CV, the parser out for two different runs, there were two outputs by the parser agent, and you can see that the only difference is this small space. Apart from that, the whole output, each and every word, each and every alphabet is same. And this result is something that is consistent across all the CVs that it has taken in. So now, so now one thing that so now we had divided it into a parser agent and a deciding agent. So now we were completely sure that whatever input that was going to the decider agent, it's going same for every run. It's not like that sometime it assumes that work experience is something else, and in the next run it assumes that the work experience to be something else. After that, we started working on the decider agent. here again also in FlytBase we have different expectations from people who have different level of experience. For example, somebody who is a senior, that is would have 4+ years of experience, should have a different kind of CV. He should have much more evidence of leadership. He should have much more expertise over their domain. They should have literal war stories, versus a person who is an entry level person who has just fresh out of college. They will look at different aspects. We'll look at their the internships that they have done, how much they have gone outside their comfort zone. All these expectations help us to get out of learnability out of each candidate. For example, if a person who is a 3+ years experience would know more than a person who is at only 1 year experience. But if you go deeper, if the 3+ year experienced person has a linear curve rate and the 1 year experienced person has an exponential learning curve rate, then obviously the 1 year experienced person would in sometimes surpass that 3 year experienced person, and we would want that 1 year experienced person to be in our team. So that's why we needed that nuance when we were analyzing CVs of different at different experience levels, and that's what we did. We segregated our agents into 4 parts: entry level agent, junior analysis agent, mid level analysis agent, and senior analysis agent. And in that we entered our expectations. So I'll just show a small, yeah. So this is a high level overview of a 1 year experienced agent that we currently use. Again, high level, this is not the detailed prompt. This is just a abstract version of what we use. So here you can see we have different sections: work experience, project evaluation, achievement evaluation. And this is a very detailed prompt. The reason for that is, let's say that you are a human, and I mean, obviously you are a human. So let's say that you get a CV. What do? First, you might think that you just go and look at experience, you look at work experience and all, but no, there are very definite steps that you follow. You look at how much when has the person graduated. You look at the number of job jumps they have done. You look at how their role has progressed, and all these steps need to be outlined at a very explicitly, so that the LLM exactly knows how you think and can judge according to that. So that's what we did when we crafted that second prompt for the decider agent. We ensured that each and every nuance was captured, so that the LLM is thinking in exactly the same way the human is. So the ambiguity is not on what parameters you should judge. The only thing that the LLM needs to do is to judge the person. And yeah, after that, the final thing that we did was running a CV multiple times. So when we get a candidate CV, we run it 3 times right now, because that is the balance we found between cost and getting reliable results. So we run a CV 3 times, and we found out that when we were running the CV multiple times, and let's say we ran it 3 times, 2 times the score was fine, only 1 time it used to skyrocket here and there. Same case was when we ran the CV 5 times. 4 times the score was fine, it was near. Let's say the score was 50, 51, 52, 53. But on the 5th run, it used to go somewhere like 20 or 60. So more or less for us, based on those findings, we decided that getting the median score would be the best choice. So right now what we do is we run a CV, we run it 3 times. Then we get the median score, which is the final score. We also get the range of these 3 runs. And if the range of these 3 runs exceeds 4 marks, is greater than 4 marks, we flag it for human review. And that is how we were able to get this level of improvement, this level of reliability, and this level of accuracy. So key insights that we got from this whole journey was that learning about the LLMs is extremely important. What temperatures control them, what parameters control them, how those parameters influence the output of your LLMs. Prompting is extremely important. There should be as less ambiguity for the agent as possible. Think of it as this way. let's say that you are a recruiter, there are many recruiters among us, and a junior recruiter joins you. Now, would the junior recruiter evaluate the CV the same way you would? No, right? You would have to train that junior recruiter. You would have to tell them that think like this, see the CV like this, look for these parameters. That's the same approach that you have to follow with LLMs also. They are not different. We just have to take the pain to teach them those nuances, to teach them those steps. And again, getting specialized agents for tasks. So it's better to break the agents into as many different tasks as possible, so that their focus is narrow and they can focus on their goal only. Chain of thought prompting, that is nothing but just what I said, breaking a task into steps, incremental steps, and ensuring that the LLM knows what step to follow when, and finally ensuring that a human reviewer is there in case there is any edge case. So yeah, thank you, and if there are any questions, I'll take.
Awesome. Thanks, Sejal. That was excellent, right? And this is a very interesting, challenging, complex problem because it involves so many things. Like you have to really understand how to evaluate a person very well in order to be able to get that sort of outcome from an LLM or from AI, as well as you have to understand how AI really works, like understanding these nuances of temperature control or splitting things into agents. So it is a very, very interesting, challenging problem that you have been able to crack, because somebody can easily give up on this and say that no, LLM is hallucinating, you're not getting good results. It's very easy to dismiss it. And like if you keep at it and if you challenge yourself to think differently and go get into those nuances, that is where you are able to get success and finally get things working magically. So thanks, Sejal, for sharing this. Let's take a few quick questions. I will just take a look at the chat history. I think there is a question, what method did you use? We have already discussed that in details. Is the LLM using the words within the CV to assess the scores, or does it use domain knowledge inference? This also Sejal explained. So the question, Sejal, is the LLM using the words within the CV to assess the scores, or is it using domain knowledge for inference? Is using field of knowledge of the candidate?
So, okay, so like I explained, it is all based on how you structure the prompt. So, for example, for us, what we do is we just use the CV as we just use the words in the CV as inputs. For example, if the person has said that they have done a project on OpenCV project, the LLM has explicit instructions to now not just say ki, yeah, it's an OpenCV project, to see what the project is, then to question that is this the project that should have taken 1 year. So all these nuances we have given the LLM, so it judges on those things.
So basically, because LLMs can reason things out, etc., it depends on how well you craft your prompt to be able to judge those things. And it's very similar, like Sejal explained, how you would ask a recruiter to do it, how you would ask a human to do it. And then, like Tushar has mentioned, that one of the filters I apply while shortlisting candidates is job stability. If a candidate has made frequent job changes, I usually skip their profile. So he's asking, can we program or can we ask the LLMs to do things like there should be at least one role with a minimum of 4-year tenure in a single company?
Yeah, we can do that. Again, it all lies in how well you craft the prompt. So like I showed you that I had crafted it into different prompts. Even I had different prompts for the years of experience. So you can basically ask the LLMs to include that aspect also. Just ensure that you don't leave room for ambiguity for the LLM to judge. LLM knows exactly what kind of thing to judge on, and yeah.
Right. So it is possible, right? The next question is, did you use some kind of RAG?
Okay. So no, right now we don't use RAG, but that is actually no, because right now it's not. We didn't feel that that was needed. But the way we are seeing the AI growing and the way we see the future roles growing, we think that okay. So right now, because we are hiring for very definite roles, we know that there's an SD we need to hire. There's a DevSecOps we need to hire. We know exactly what to expect.
So right now you are able to do whatever you need, all the data you are providing through a prompt.
Yes.
But later on, as your prompts become longer, or if you need to give the context of the organization, maybe you would like to use a RAG.
Yeah.
Okay. There is a question: can we try this product like a user somewhere or get a talk on how it was built? I think it is, yeah, as of now, it has been designed and built in a way that it is just an internal tool. We haven't built layers where it can be made available for someone else, because this is not really a product for us as a product to sell. It is just an internal tool that we are building for our own work. The question is, which LLM have you used, and have you done any additional training for this use case?
Okay, so the interesting question, because I tried the same prompt and same thing with different LLMs. I tried it with GPT-4o, I tried it with Claude 3.7, and right now for me, Anthropic Claude 3.7 worked best. So that's what I'm using. And no, it didn't need any prior training. I thought that it might need, but just having good prompting worked for me for now. Yeah.
Okay. Next question is, if a candidate has hyperlinks, so do you take that into consideration, like portfolio or GitHub link, or like what's your reasoning?
Okay, so no, because those open a whole different array of things. For example, if I, let's say, take portfolio into consideration, currently there is no good LLM that is able to visually judge any candidate's portfolio. So on all those factors, we took a conscious decision to not take it right now, but later on, if that goes, so yeah.
Okay, question is, would you expect the candidate to share multi-page CVs, or the guidance is to give 2 to 3 pages? Looks like candidate needs to give detailed information.
So number of pages is not the limit. Just outlining what you have done, how you have done is the key, because then that would give context for the LLM to judge.
It's an interesting question in the sense that earlier we used to kind of encourage candidates to only have 1-page CVs, 2-page CVs. Now we can like request them to have like 10-20-page CVs, because the more detailed the CVs, the better we can now use. Because earlier the constraint was a human can only look at so many pages. So we were trying to reduce information. Now we want more information.
Yeah. So when I initially started on this problem, I found so many different articles on the 80-20 rule, the 15-second rule, the 7-second rule. And I was like, oh my God, there is so many techniques on drafting the CV, but none of those are needed right now.
Correct. In fact, actually, Sejal, that's an interesting point. We should now put a guideline that please submit a 20-page CV with details on every project, everything that you have done in your life. Like have 1 page on every project or something like that.
Include your war stories, include your failures. We want to know you.
Yes. So we should have a guidance that like we need a 20-page minimum CV now. Yeah. Something like that. And like smart people can generate a 20-page CV in no time. Like they can describe all those war stories to an LLM and generate that detailed like story, which will really help us evaluate them so much better. Yeah, we didn't think of that idea. If okay, hyperlinks is done. If you do wish to build something similar yourself, feel free to take inspiration. Okay. Oh, sorry. What is an optimal token size? Did the performance suffer because of token size, resume length, or because of OCR inability?
No. So right now we didn't see the performance suffer because of token size and all, because like I said, once we were done with this, we just took random sampling. We showed all those saving to our hiring manager, and they said that it's 100% accurate. So we didn't feel to go into that much nitty-gritty for now.
Okay. Next question is, any suggestions around LLM supporting bulk parsing plus selection if we have the ATS API?
I don't understand what it means by bulk parsing.
Sorry, can I just thank you, Sejal, for the session. Just wanted to check, right? We're trying to build, an app script with the keywords to try and bulk parse. So we have a lot of resumes that come in, right? So the process takes a long time when you're going through each CV, when you have to upload it manually one by one to get the 3 rounds of checks from this LLM, what you'd mentioned. Do you have any recommendation or suggestion for how we can do bulk? Like say if we have like 4,000 applicants, right? How do we get this quickly? Is there something that you have any suggestions?
So, okay. So just correct me if I'm wrong. Crux is that out of 4,000, who are the top 10 or who are the top 20 by having it in bulk?
Exactly. Yep.
So no, every time the CV would have to go individually to the agent, right? So if let's say if it takes 30 to 40 seconds for per CV, it would take 30 to 40 into 4,000. it depends on how you are implementing. So for example, if you are using tools like N8N and all, so they have ways so you can run many parallel processes, so you can faster that process, but you cannot give bulk CVs in an LLM.
No, not an LLM, but the way Sejal is doing right now is she's picking up from Google Drive. So you can put all your CVs in Google Drive, and you can create your agent to pick one CV at a time from the Google Drive. So you will not have to manually put one at a time. You can have everything in a folder and give that folder, and it will automatically pick one at a time, do all the job. And when you come back after a few hours, everything will be done.
Yeah. Okay, got it. That helps. Thank you, Nitin.
Okay. How are you validating the authenticity of data, like discrepancies within the CV?
Can you elaborate on what kind of discrepancies you mean?
If you're there, you can speak up and share what kind of discrepancies you're talking
about. So basically, I mean, how are you validating the data? Like, is it whatever the candidates have disclosed? I mean, you are assuming that it is correct and you are just validating it or evaluating it. And in some cases, usually what happens when you are going through the CV, you'll find some discrepancies within the CV. Like they might have written like, I'm very consistent performer and I usually work on long term on the projects and all. And while you are looking at, they are switching job every 6 months or every year. Those kind of discrepancies usually we find and we reject candidates.
So that again, that goes into how well you craft the prompt. So for example, like the way we have crafted the prompt, we don't look at the skill section, we don't look at the summary section. I mean, those are the areas where the candidate can fluff the most. What we see is the way that you are looking at it. How would a human find a discrepancy? If the person has written that they know Python, they'll see what kind of Python projects they have done. If a person has written that they like to explore, they'll see how much they have gone outside their comfort zone. So all these steps we have outlined in the prompt itself, and it analyzes it perfectly.
Okay, I think similar question, another one, which is issue still remains, profile faking can easily get bypassed, and there is no insight on work being done. We are trying to solve this via our platform workcrew.ai as layer 1 data. I don't understand it fully, but Sejal, if you understand what the question is Cyril Thomas.
Okay, so whatever, I don't understand it completely, but all I can say is that what the answer I gave to Girish, with addition that just think of it, how much can a human judge from the CV? Whatever the human can judge, the LLM can judge. And the whole essence of like the whole secret is how well you craft the prompt, how well you divide the workflow, how well you tune the parameters. That's where the whole magic lies.
Right. I think you will have a similar answer to the next question, but let me read it out. We are seeing issues with inconsistent panel feedback. Panel is like recruitment panel feedback, and too much time spent screening resumes, especially when candidates have career breaks, domain switches, or aren't from SaaS backgrounds. Can AI resume evaluators be trained to think more like recruiters and handle these nuances better?
Yeah, they can. In fact, if it was not disclosing the candidate's personal information, I can just say that many a times I've got an output that the candidate has the LLM's output, and I'm quoting it. The candidate has done 4 projects, but all of those are mid-level coursework projects. Now, if it's able to judge if the project itself is innovative or not. So, yeah.
So again, like if you design that detailed prompt, like Sejal explained, how you can split the entire evaluation into different categories and evaluate each category independently, etc., that gives you a lot of control, and you can do much better evaluation than a human, in a sense that human is likely to mess up when they are trying to evaluate somebody on so many parameters, but AI once trained can do a consistent job. Next question is, are you using any open source solution to extract text from the resume or any specific tool?
So right now we are using the text extract node from N8N. We have found that it is able to extract text decently. In case it is not able to, we are able to detect that, and we raise a flag or human flag that the resume was not parsed, and please look at it. So yeah.
Okay, we'll take the last question, which is what about sales role?
Again, whatever I said, just imply that for sales role, think what kind of sales people you need, think how if you had a CV, how would you evaluate that? Write all those steps down and then craft a good prompt to LLM. Yeah.
Right. So Atharva has asked which is resume parser of N8N. So N8N is the workflow orchestration that Sejal is using, and they have a built-in, I think, node for parsing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's able to tell if it has not parsed the text properly, so you can raise alerts at that time. I think Abby had a hand raised for quite some.
Yeah, Abby. Yeah, sorry, Abby, please go ahead.
Yeah, it was partly answered. I just wanted to know how much of help from a domain perspective have you taken from HR people, because the fields that you will be taking in would be quite diverse, right? And certain things might be helpful for certain roles and not for certain other roles. So do you have some kind of a document of domain specific things? Maybe it's useful for using this document later on for a RAG system if you want to append it to your agenting system right now. Yeah, thank you.
So yeah, you're just let me know if I answered it. Yeah, so the fields are a lot diverse. The domain expertise also changes as the company grows, and all those things are correct. So we have the capability to build a RAG system. Even these prompts that I created, I needed to go to the hiring managers, to the team leads, and understand exactly what kind of people they need in their team so that I can craft those prompts. So yeah, because we have the ability to implement RAG. It's just that right now the need didn't arise, so we haven't done it. So I hope I was able to answer it. Yeah. Okay, cool.